Chapter: Create Your Own Happiness.
When Alexander broke off his story, I couldn't help but express my distaste for him. Everything about you is clear to me. They left their tents and fuel. It's too bad you got off with just some gray hair. Anastasia is blessed. That was clear. Any normal person would have understood right off the bat when they saw you what you were and what you wanted. But she poured her soul out to you.
She understood everything, why we had come and what we wanted from her. She did, but she wasn't speaking with the dark side of the human self. She ignored our dark side, interacting only with the light in each person's soul. That was how she changed us all. I'm a scientist after all. I studied psychology.
Great, a scientist. What good is your science if you think in hindsight?
Because its life often arranges events faster and more precisely. Not only that, Anastasia was... No, I'll avoid assigning a definition to her for now, as I would for any phenomena.
Such as what?
How can I put it? Do you understand? Those old men and women from the abandoned tiger village. They're still coming at us. The skinny little girl with a slender twig is at their head.
Where are they? Where are they coming?
At us. At everyone who was there and saw them. I thought this was happening only to me, that when I closed my eyes I saw them instantly. Sometimes they appeared as soon as I performed certain actions that they probably think are undesirable. I thought this was only happening to me, but I've spoken with the others. It's happening to everyone who's there.
Well, that's all in your head.
What's the difference? I still want to run from them.
What could be so frightening about feeble, unarmed old people? What frightened you?
I myself still don't understand what we were frightened of. Possibly of our own. Possibly we had crossed some line.
What kind of line? You could go crazy thinking thoughts like that. Maybe you should have thought then, when you were doing those things.
Maybe we should have. We all need to think hard.
Where did you get the idea that after Anastasia's conversation with the girl that the girl's fate and her mother's changed too? And the villagers as well?
I'm telling you, I used to study psychology. As a scientist, I can tell you that Anastasia completely changed Anyuta's life program. A sick child abandoned to the care of old people. She sat helpless in a corner of a dirty hut waiting for her mama to visit. They kept assuring her, "Your mama will come. She'll play with you and bring you presents." They reassured her, thinking they were doing her a good deed by lying. Meanwhile, despair had driven her mother in the city to drink. The false assurances doomed the little girl to fruitless anticipation. So too in our lives we frequently wait for a deus ex machina or a white knight. Someone is supposed to come and make us happy, change our fate. Isn't that why we act lackluster early or not at all? Without giving much thought to the act that we're already being given quite enough, and we ourselves should be greeting whoever visits us with presents. Anastasia changed our fate and future with her simplicity and sincerity. Just think, your fate can be changed by the simplest human words. I've listened to the recording of Anastasia's dialogue with Anyuta many times. I think if anyone else had spoken like that to a girl, it would have had the same effect. After all, it doesn't take a lot to speak the way she does. You have to not lie. You have to wish simply and sincerely to help the person. Help, not sympathize. You have to be free of karmic dogmas, or rather, be stronger than them. You can argue about karma and despair, about the karmic predestination for a sick little girl. But Anastasia proved stronger than this predestination. She simply ignored it, and someone else could do the same. After all, it was all done with words, ordinary words at that. Nevertheless, they have to be spoken at the right place and time, and in a specific order. The purity of intentions Anastasia speaks of may be what automatically sets these words out in a specific order, and that may be why they're effective.
Well, so much for your theories and conjectures. You also have to look at real life, the future, to see whether a destiny has been changed by certain words or not. And what could possibly change in life for this little girl, unless some kind of miracle occurred?
A miracle did occur. It turned out that all the miracles are inside us.
What miracle occurred?
Little Anyuta was reprogrammed. She changed all her own karma and the karma of the people around her.
What do you mean by change? How do you know that?
I know. A while later I went back to that village. I decided to bring Anyuta my radio, since hers was staticky, and install an antenna on the roof. I'm walking around Anuta's house over repaired wooden walkways. When we were there last, they were rotted through, but all the rotten boards had been replaced with new. That's great, I thought. Why the improvements? I saw Anuta's grandfather sitting on the porch washing his boots in a bucket. I greeted him and told him why I'd come.
All right then, go on into the hut if that's okay. Only you'll have to take off your footwear. We got new ways now, you see.
I took off my shoes on the porch. The old man and I entered the hut. Everything there was simple, country style, but very clean and cozy.
My granddaughter puts things in order for us like this. She worked hard and long, scrubbed the floor and washed it all, more than a week from morn till night like a wind-up doll, to take a rest and go back to cleaning. She talked me into whitewashing the walls. Now if I walk inside in boots, it leaves the track, and she picks up a rag right away and starts cleaning my tracks. Better not make them at all, those tracks. Don't have any slippers. She fixed up old galoshes instead of slippers. Put on some galoshes. Sit yourself down.
I sat down at the table, which was covered with an old but clean tablecloth. The tablecloth was worn in one spot, and on the worn spot, as neatly as a child's hand could, a bunny-shaped scrap of colored fabric had been sewn on. In the middle of the table stood a faceted glass in which the corners of notebook paper poked out like neat petals instead of napkins. I see you've begun to improve your little village too. The authorities have paid you some attention since your wooden sidewalk's been repaired.
It's not the authorities fitting us out. They don't care about us. The authorities. It's my granddaughter, Anuta. She's the busy bee.
What do you mean, Anuta? She's still too little to repair a sidewalk. The boards there are heavy.
Heavy boards? Yes. One day I was getting ready to go hunting one day. I asked my neighbor to keep an eye on Anuta. But my granddaughter says, "Go on, Granddad. Go about your business. Don't worry. I'll take care of everything. Just let me saw the board propped up by the shed." I was surprised, but I thought, let the child play if she likes to play so much. I put the board on a log for her, gave her the saw and a hacksaw, and went hunting. My neighbor told me about it later. Anuta pulled the pieces of rotting wood out of the walkways. She measured them with a string and started sawing the board I gave her to that size. It took Anuta half a day to saw that board, my neighbor says, but she did it. Then she dragged the board to the walkway and set it in place where the rotten one had been.
How could she carry a heavy board all that way? She's so skinny and weak.
She found herself a helper. 2 months ago, she made friends with an orphan mutt, a Siberian husky. One old lady died at the other end of the remote village, left a healthy mutt. Even at the funeral, Anuta kept petting it. Then she brought it food to eat. At first, the husky wouldn't leave its yard, though there wasn't anybody in the hut. The old lady lived alone. Anuta fed the dog for days. It started following Anuta. Now it follows her everywhere, no matter what. The old mutt helps out with all my granddaughter's whims. Here, it helped drag the board. Anuta grabbed the rope around one end of the board and started dragging it. This mutt latched onto the other with its sturdy teeth, and they dragged it all the way up to the walkway. Then Anuta asked our neighbor for nails and took my hammer. There she goes, trying to nail the board in place, but she was having trouble. My neighbor saw Anuta sitting on the boardwalk, trying her best. She'd hammer her hand bloody. The mutt sitting next to her, looking and whimpering. My neighbor came over, took the hammer, and nailed the board in place. The next day, late in the afternoon, my neighbor saw Anuta and her dog dragging another board to patch another hole in the sidewalk.
"What are you doing, Anuta? Are you going to nail new boards over all the holes? Couldn't you think up something else to do? Something for girls?"
"I have to do this, Auntie, so that all the walkways along all the houses are new and don't have any holes. What if visitors were coming to some house and they walked over the walkway and there were holes in them and it spoiled the visitors' cheerful mood? And my mama, when she comes, she might get upset by the unfestive walkways."
The neighbor lady nailed the second board. Then she gave everyone hell. She went from yard to yard and raised a ruckus with everyone.
"Fix the walks by your own houses. I can't watch a child suffering over your laziness. She's smashing her hands bloody."
And look, they repaired their walks, each by his own house, so they wouldn't have to listen to the woman's ruckus.
Where is your granddaughter now?
She hauled paint to the last hut. She's probably spending the night in the last hut with the old Lozans. Yes, she may be spending the night there.
What paint? What for?
Regular paint, oil, bright orange. She exchanges fish for paint at the ship. My granddaughter has a new fancy now.
What's her new fancy?
She's decided all the huts should look cheerful, joyful. When the ship comes, you know, the one that collects the fish people catch, she takes her fish there and trades it all for paint. Then she carries the can to some hut. She asks them to paint their window frames, and the old folks do. It'll be my turn before too long. All right, I'll paint them. Why not? Maybe it is better if we paint, so the huts look more cheerful on the outside.
Where does she get the fish?
She catches them herself, at least 3 every day, 2 baloribitsas at least, and brings them in the morning, sometimes even more. If only once she didn't, but no, those fish latch onto her hooks. Every morning she tells me with my radiculitis.
Get up, it's all here. Get up, Granddad. Salt the fish so it doesn't go bad.
Every morning it's like that.
The old man grumbled without rancor. How does she manage to tackle, alone?
I'm telling you, Anyuta has a helper. That old husky, the Siberian. It's an old mutt but smart, and it obeys her. He's her accomplice in all her whims. Anyuta takes my lure with the 5 hooks, baits them, and takes the husky with her to the river in the evening. She's got her favorite spot there, secures one end of the line to a peg on the bank, then throws the line over a stick, and the dog takes the stick in its teeth and swims. Swims as long as Anyuta on the bank keeps telling it.
Swim, my friend, swim, my friend.
The dog drags the lure as long as Anyuta keeps talking to it from the bank. When it gets to the spot, Anyuta starts talking to it differently.
Come to me, my friend, come.
The dog drops the stick and goes back to the bank. Enough. Let's go to bed.
The old man lay down on the stove on the wooden bench. I woke at dawn, went outside and saw Anyuta down by the river, holding onto a ring and dragging a line. The big Siberian husky was helping her. The husky had its teeth in the ring and was digging in, pulling back. Together they dragged out the lure with a decent catch. Anyuta wore rubber boots about 3 sizes too big over bare feet. When they dragged the catch to shore, she grabbed her net and pulled out the fish. The husky dug in its paws and held the ring in its teeth. Anyuta went further into the water than the boots allowed, and water started pouring over the tops. She dragged it to shore, took the hooks out of 3 excellent fish, and put them in her sack. Then she and the husky picked up the rope and started dragging the plywood the sack was lying on. Water splashed out of Anyuta's boots, hindering her progress. Anyuta stopped, removed one boot, then the other, and standing barefoot on the cold ground, poured the water out of them. She put the wet boots back on and went about her business. When she and the husky had dragged their morning catch to the front stoop, I looked at Anyuta's face and was astounded. Her glowing, ruddy cheeks, eyes glittering with determination, and a happy smile lurking on her lips, made her look nothing like the pale, yellowish, once sickly little girl. Anyuta started trying to wake her grandfather, and breathing hard he climbed off the stove, threw on his jacket, picked up his knife and salt, and went to dress the fish. When Anyuta poured me tea, I asked why she brought home fish at such an early hour every day.
The nice men from the ship on the river come and take the fish from us. They give me money. And also, I asked them to bring paint for our houses. They brought it for the fish and also pretty fabric for a dress. I gave them all the fish I caught in a week for it.
She took out a large piece of magnificent silk. You have enough for more than one dress here, Anyuta. Why so much?
It's not for me. It's for my mama. I'm making a present. When she comes, I'll give her a pretty scarf too and some long beads.
Anyuta took imported stockings, pearls, and a magnificent flowered scarf out of a worn suitcase.
I don't want my mama to be upset that she can't buy me presents. I'm going to buy everything for her now, so she doesn't think her life didn't work out.
I watched as she joyously showed me the presents for her mother. Happy, she admired them, and I realized that little Anyuta had been transformed from an utterly helpless, pathetic creature waiting for someone's help into an effective, self-confident person. Furthermore, she was happy because she had achieved something, but her happiness may have come from something else too. I think each person's happiness is inside. It is at a specific level of consciousness. Only how to reach that level, that is the question. Anastasia helped little Anyuta. Would she be able to help everyone else? Or maybe we ourselves need to figure out how to learn.
Alexander fell silent, and we were each left with our own thoughts. Wrapped in a sheepskin jacket, I lay my head on a log and started looking at the bright northern stars, which seemed very low over us, warming themselves at our fire too. I tried to go to sleep. After sleeping a few hours, Alexander and I walked up to the launch at dawn. But before pushing off, Alexander suddenly said to me,
I'm certain, you shouldn't go into the taiga. You won't find Anastasia now. No one can, including you.
"Why do you think so?"
Anastasia's gone deeper in. She had to. If you go, you might perish. You're not equipped for the taiga, and you still need to write. Keep your promise to her.
In order to write more, I have to hear her answers to many readers' questions. On raising children, on religions.
No one can find her now.
How you do go on about not finding her. I know where her glade is. I'll find her.
I'm telling you, you won't. Anastasia can't help but understand that the hunt for her is on.
What hunt? Has someone bribed the local hunters? Like you and Igoric?
Igoric and I keep trying to convince them not to interfere, not to bother her. When we fail, we take them to the opposite bank. You can't bribe the local hunters. They have their own laws and values. They knew about Anastasia long before you did. They held her in the deepest respect. Even among themselves, they spoke cautiously. The hunters would not like to see an outsider in the taiga, and their aim is good.
So who might be hunting for her?
I think it's whoever brought us to where we are today, and they're going to keep it up.
More specifically?
Each person has to puzzle that out for himself.
Still, who do you have in mind? People like Boris Moiseyevich?
He's just a tool. Something we can't see is playing with us. Both Boris now, and whoever stood behind him apparently has understood that too.
Chapter, who are we?
A month ago, Boris Moiseyevich came back to these parts, this time without guards or assistants. Quiet and thoughtful, he sought me out. He and I talked for an entire day. Or rather, it wasn't a conversation, but his confession. Not to me, of course, but a confession to himself. He gave me a copy of his report on his contact with Anastasia. I took some excerpts from it for you. Do you want me to read them out loud?
Who was the report done for?
I don't know, and neither does Boris Moiseyevich. He met his client in a well-appointed room with a fireplace. The client called himself a representative of the International Academy, but there are a lot of academies around now. Just try to figure out which are the most serious. Now, people judge seriousness by the extent of the financing. This client wasn't stingy. He paid for the entire trip up front in cash and promised a considerable bonus to the group. He also promised to include the entire section Boris Moiseyevich heads up in a serious scientific program connected with Anastasia. When Boris Moiseyevich met with him after his return and gave him his report, the client looked through the report quickly. Apparently he was already well informed. He threw the report into the fireplace and told Boris Moiseyevich,
"Your assignment was to make contact with X, as you yourself called Anastasia. You used not only your own scientific methods and persuasive abilities but also violence in carrying out the assignment. The violence was your initiative. We've decided to double the fee for this expedition, but in the future to break off relations with you. Take your fee."
He pointed to the briefcase next to the armchair.
"And forget about the expedition."
Boris Moiseyevich tried to explain that the violence was an accident and that he himself found the whole business distasteful. He realized the harm their group's clumsiness had done for future contacts with Anastasia, so he refused the fee for himself altogether. Then the man sitting by the fireplace rose from his chair, and in a voice brooking no objection said,
"Take it and leave. Your enthusiasm was for the money, not the cause. So take it. You're no use to us anymore."
Boris Moiseyevich took the briefcase with the money and left the spacious office. He tried to share the money equally among the expedition participants, but they wouldn't all take it. The money seemed to accentuate the magnitude of something unpleasant the expedition participants had done.
"Why did you just write out excerpts from the report?" I asked Alexander.
Judging from the book, you don't really like to read works full of terms you don't understand. I tried to write down the main points without special terminology.
"What do they say about Anastasia?" Alexander took the printed pages out of his pocket and read to me.
X cannot be subjected to ordinary study and the scientific methods known to us today. Scientifically acceptable assessment criteria would inevitably create a specific framework that omitted previously unknown properties and possibilities of the phenomena that arise and are connected with individual situations, more than likely due to X's fluctuating psychic state. As an information source in various spheres of scientific research, the subject could far surpass those scientific sources currently known. The subject herself is more than likely not the bearer of information. She has no ordinary interest in obtaining and analyzing information. However, when a goal arises important to her, as a result of desire, information in the necessary quantity comes to her in a form selected by someone, and instantly may find practical application by subject X. Our group was able to provide only a few hypotheses, but it did confirm empirically several statements by X about plants. It established the fact of the ray's existence. The scientific terms torsion field and radio wave emission are probably not appropriate here. If we use them, it is only because we have no others more appropriate. What was most incredible and dubious, in our opinion, was the possibility of hiding, in the text of a book, combinations and signs that were, according to X's terminology, as deep as eternity and as infinite as the cosmos. According to the subject's own assertion, these signs could have a beneficial effect on people. We propose conducting a series of experiments, comparing the parameters of physiological changes in a person before and after reading the book, with the help of instruments used in medical research. Now, however, this does not make great sense. Now, we are compelled to state the incontrovertibility of their existence. Their effect comes about not through physiological or material organs, but on some intangible, non-material level of the socium. One gets the impression that among the community of people living on Earth, there is beginning to be a reaction that we can neither control nor consequently stop. The main fact confirming its existence is the psychic reaction of people who have come into contact with the book. A survey, testing, and analysis of correspondence from readers attest to the emergence in the majority of a creative surge, expressed in the form of poems, drawings, and songs. Many develop the need to touch a plant something, change profession. In individual instances, we observed significant improvement in how they felt, and a disappearance of symptoms of illness. We conducted the experiment on 30 people with various illnesses. In the psychotherapy and therapeutic sleep office, we offered them the book to read. In 27, emotional focus was observed, sleep did not follow, and hemoglobin in the blood rose. If one assumes that the reader's reaction occurs because of the vividness of the literary artistic image, then we can say that this image, in its psychological effect, surpasses all those previously known, including classical and biblical, by several orders of magnitude. The incontrovertibility of this assertion is shown by the percentage of readers who express themselves in poetic or some other creative form. Statistically, this is expressed as 119. At the same time, the author's expository style itself is simple to the point of primitivism. The well-established canons of artistic literary creation are not observed, and the text contains grammatical errors. At the same time, though, testing the text for readability via computer program shows that the readability level is at least 80%. While in direct contact with object X, we observed a phenomenon never before encountered that did not correspond to any that have ever been observed or described by UFOologists. We observed a spherical energy cluster that looked like large ball lightning. Its energy potential exceeds present-day science's existing notions about the force of natural energies. Its ability to change the Earth's gravitational field locally allows it to turn everything that is not rooted in the Earth to cosmic dust in a single instant. At the moment of our contact, the Earth's gravitation changed insignificantly, but when it increased its efforts, we and all the material objects could simply have ended up in the abyss of the cosmos. Nevertheless, around X, the gravitational field did not change, which speaks to the possibility of precise and targeted actions. The alteration in the Earth's attraction was visibly preceded by a reduction in the blue spectrum of daylight. Thus, we can conjecture that the Earth's so-called attraction depends not on the Earth itself, its mass, but on the light pressure emanating from certain cosmic objects, energies, or a sheathing for the Earth created by someone. Despite her ability to acquire large amounts of information, X does not try to analyze it. She perceives what she receives at the level of emotions and intuition, which gives her the impression of naivete. Relations between X and the energy cluster are ordinary and simple. They are built on the level of emotions, in a complete absence of civility or worship. Given the mutual respect they have for each other, they retain perfect freedom of action. The shining energy cluster we observed possesses intellect and, what is most incredible, emotions, such as has not been noted by UFOologists in a single UFO. Testimony to its sensitivity is the fact that upon contact, the rays of the energy cluster stroked the feet and hair of subject X, and by its actions reacted to X's emotional state. Along with the possibility of having a physiological influence on matter, the subject we saw can exert a psychological influence. By way of hypothesis, Subject X may be one of those earthly persons with whom representatives of extraterrestrial civilizations come into contact periodically, or else some natural phenomenon not susceptible to study interacts with the object. By way of hypothesis, Object X itself could be from a civilization beyond Earth. However, the object's own statement, "I am a human being, a woman," contradicts this. Such a statement puts us at an impasse, since the question arises, who then are we? Or, put another way, has humanity progressed or regressed?
End of chapter. Join us for the next segment of The Dimension of Love, Book 3 of the Ringing Cedars series, Mutants Created by People.